My fiancé made me exclude my 4-year-old daughter from our wedding with a no kids rule. But 2 days before, I found a secret email where she planned to bring her 7 nieces and nephews. I canceled it in front of 80 guests, and what I said on the microphone left them speechless. I'm 38 years old. I work in accounting, and 3 weeks ago I canceled my wedding literally on the day of the ceremony, with guests already arriving and everything set up in my parents' backyard. People think I'm crazy. How do you cancel a wedding at the last minute like that? But when they know what I discovered, they'll understand why I had no other choice. This story basically destroyed what I thought was going to be my future. But it also made me see who really matters in my life. I met Christine about 3 years ago at a work conference. She's 40, has 2 kids from her first marriage, a 2-year-old boy and a 10-year-old girl. And from the beginning, she seemed like an amazing woman. Smart, funny, had her stuff together. I've been a single father since Madison was 2. Her mom basically disappeared from our lives after the divorce and was never very present to begin with, so it's always been me and my daughter against the world. Madison is 14 now. She's a super smart girl, a bit shy but with a huge heart, and honestly, she's the best thing that's ever happened to me. At first, everything was perfect. Christine and I would see each other on weekends, go out with all 3 kids together, go to the movies or eat pizza, normal stuff. Madison seemed to get along well with Christine's kids. Or at least, that's what I thought. Christine was attentive. She'd ask me about Madison, was interested in her school stuff, and I thought, this is exactly what I need. Someone who understands that Madison is my priority. After a year and a half, I proposed to her at a restaurant by the ocean. Nothing too elaborate, but nice, and she said yes through tears. Madison was excited, or so it seemed. She told me she liked Christine and was happy for me. The problem started when we began planning the wedding. Christine insisted from the beginning that she wanted a child-free wedding, and when I say from the beginning, I mean it was literally the first conversation we had. After the engagement, I sat down with her one night at her apartment, thinking we were going to talk about dates and venues and stuff like that, and she drops on me, I want to talk about something important. I need this wedding to be adults only. I just sat there what? Because honestly, I wasn't expecting that. I told her, Christine, we have kids. How are we going to have a child-free wedding? And she explained to me that her kids were going to be with their father that weekend anyway, because it was his turn to have them. That it was better that way because kids get bored at weddings. That she wanted something elegant and sophisticated without having to worry about kids running around everywhere or crying during the ceremony. The thing is, I didn't agree at all, but Christine kept insisting. We had 5 or 6 conversations about it over the following weeks, and each time she brought new arguments, that the food was going to be too expensive to waste on kids who only wanted chicken nuggets, that the music was going to go late and kids needed to sleep early, that all our friends would be grateful to have a night without their kids. I kept thinking about Madison, about how she was going to feel being excluded from her own father's wedding. But Christine told me she would understand. That at her age she was already mature enough to comprehend that sometimes adults need their own spaces. Finally, after weeks of arguments, I gave in. I'm not proud to admit it, but the truth is Christine had a way of making her arguments sound totally reasonable. And I was so in love and so convinced she was the one that I basically convinced myself I was doing the right thing. I talked to Madison one night after dinner, made her favorite dessert, thinking that would make the conversation less awkward, and explained to her that the wedding was going to be adults only. She went quiet for a moment, just staring at her melting ice cream, and then said, "Okay, Dad. I understand." But I saw something in her eyes, a sadness that I tried to ignore because I didn't want to face what I was really doing. The following months were weird. Christine moved into my house about 3 months after the engagement because her lease ended and it made sense. We were going to get married anyway. At first, everything seemed normal. But I started noticing that Christine and Madison basically didn't interact. I'd get home from work and Madison was in her room. Christine was watching TV in the living room, and it was like they lived in separate worlds. I'd ask Christine if everything was okay, and she'd say yes. That Madison was a teenager, and that's how teenagers are, distant and in their own world. I'd ask Madison, and she'd say the same thing, that everything was fine, that she was just busy with school and her friends. Looking back, I should have seen it coming. All the signs were there, but I didn't want to see them. Madison started spending more time at my parents' house. She'd go on Fridays after school and come back Sunday nights. My parents never said anything directly, but my mom would make comments like, "Madison seems happier here," or, "It must be difficult for her to adjust to having Christine in the house." I always defended the situation, saying they were normal adjustments, that blended families always have an adaptation period. The wedding was planned for mid-June in my parents' backyard. They have a house with a huge yard. We'd hired tents, elegant chairs, incredible catering, flowers everywhere, the whole thing. I was paying for everything, because Christine had spent a lot of money on the down payment for a new car, and I had no problem with that. It was our wedding, after all. We'd invited about 80 people, family, work friends, some cousins I hadn't seen in years, but that Christine insisted on inviting. 2 days before the wedding, a Wednesday night, I was checking my emails on my laptop after dinner when I saw a message that came to me by mistake. It was from Brenda, Christine's younger sister. And it was addressed to Christine, but for some reason it arrived in my inbox. I think because Brenda had put both of us on copy in some previous email, and her reply went to everyone. The subject of the email said something like, "Confirmation of the kids for Saturday," and when I opened it, it said, "Chrissy confirmed that I'm bringing all 3 kids. I already bought them new clothes for the occasion. They're super excited. Monica also confirmed she's bringing her too. Your kids already know what time they need to be ready. See you Saturday, it's going to be beautiful." I just sat there staring at the screen, unable to process what I was reading. I read the email like 5 times, literally, because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Christine had 2 sisters, Brenda and Monica, and between the 2 of them, they had 5 kids total. Plus, Christine's 2 kids made 7 children, who apparently were going to be at my child-free wedding. My hands started shaking and I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. For months, I had excluded my own daughter from my wedding under the premise that it was a child-free event. And it turns out Christine had been planning all along to have her kids and nieces and nephews there. I didn't confront Christine that night. I know it sounds weird, but I needed time to process, to be sure of what I was going to do. I went to the guest bedroom, saying I had work to finish, and stayed up all night thinking. In the morning, when Christine left for the salon for her last-minute stuff before the wedding, I went to Madison's room. She was at her desk doing homework, and when I knocked on the door, she looked at me with that face teenagers make when they know a serious conversation is coming. I sat on her bed and asked her directly, "How have you really been feeling with Christine living here?" Madison went quiet for a moment, playing with her pencil, and then it all came out. She told me that since the engagement, Christine basically ignored her, that when I wasn't home, Christine wouldn't even say hi to her. She told me that once Christine had told her that she hoped that when we got married, Madison would decide to spend more time at my parents' house because she needed to establish her own family with her own kids. Madison had kept all this for months because she didn't want to ruin my happiness, because she thought maybe she was exaggerating, because Christine was nice to me and she thought maybe the problem was her. Hearing my daughter tell me all that destroyed me. She had tears in her eyes, but was trying not to cry. And I was there, feeling like the worst father in the world because I'd been so blinded by my relationship that I didn't see what was happening right in front of me. I showed her Brenda's email, and Madison wasn't even surprised. She just said, "I knew something like this was going to happen." She never really wanted a child-free wedding. She just wanted to exclude me. That night, I made my decision. I didn't tell Christine anything. I acted like everything was normal. Thursday and Friday passed in a blur of final preparations. Christine was excited, talking about how perfect our wedding was going to be, and I just nodded while inside I knew exactly what I was going to do. Friday night, Christine stayed at a hotel with her sisters. It was tradition or something that the bride and groom shouldn't see each other before the ceremony. I stayed home with Madison watching movies until late, and I told her everything was going to be okay, that I was going to fix things. Saturday arrived and it was a perfect day. Literally, bright sun, ideal temperature, not a cloud in the sky. The ceremony was scheduled for 4 in the afternoon. I put on my suit, went to my parents' house around 2 because I had to be there early to receive the vendors and make sure everything was in order. When I arrived, the yard looked incredible. The white tents, the flowers, the chairs with their elegant covers, the cake table. Everything was exactly as Christine had planned it. Around 3, the first guests started arriving. I was in the house greeting people, nervous, but not for the reasons everyone thought. Around 3:30, Christine arrived with her sisters and her parents. She looked beautiful. I'm not going to deny it. She had on an elegant white dress, her hair done, perfect makeup, she was radiant. But what caught my attention was that behind her came all the kids. Christine's 2 children, Brenda's 3 kids, Monica's 2, all dressed super formal and elegant. The boys in little suits and the girls in party dresses. Christine saw me and gave me a quick kiss on the cheek, saying I looked so handsome that she was dying for the ceremony to start. I just smiled and said, "Me too. I'm dying for it to start." The kids ran to the yard excited, shouting how pretty everything was, and some guests looked at them confused because everyone knew it was supposed to be a child-free wedding. I heard one of Christine's aunts ask someone, "Wasn't it supposed to be no kids?" And the answer was something like, "They're family kids. I guess it's different." I let Christine go to one of the upstairs bedrooms to do her final last-minute touch-ups. Guests kept arriving, the background music was playing, the officiant was already in position. It was 10 to 4 when I went up to find Christine. She was with her sisters and her mom, all excited, taking pictures, and when they saw me come in, they said, "You shouldn't be here. It's bad luck to see the bride before." I took out my phone, opened the screenshot of Brenda's email that I'd saved, and showed it to Christine. The room went silent. Christine went pale, literally, like all the blood had drained from her face. I told her, in a calm but firm voice, "You made me exclude my daughter from our wedding under the premise that it was a child-free event, and all this time you planned to have your kids and nieces and nephews here." Christine started stuttering, trying to explain, saying it was different, that they were close family, that it wasn't the same. I told her, "Madison is my close family. She's my daughter, and you made her feel excluded and unwanted for months." Her sisters tried to intervene, Brenda saying it had been a misunderstanding, Monica saying I was exaggerating, but I ignored them. I told Christine, "I can't marry you. This is over." She started crying, begging, saying we could talk, that it was a mistake, not to cancel the wedding over this. Her mom yelled at me that I was being ridiculous, that how was I going to humiliate her daughter like this? But I had already made my decision. I went down the stairs, walked out to the yard where all the guests were sitting waiting, and took the microphone that was next to the officiant. The place went silent, everyone looking at me expectantly. I said, "I'm sorry to inform you that there will be no wedding. Today, I've discovered that the person I was going to marry is not who I thought she was, and I can't in good conscience go forward with this. I appreciate that you came. I'm sorry for the inconvenience. Please enjoy the food and drinks. Everything is paid for." The chaos that followed was incredible. People started murmuring. Some got up confused. Others took out their phones. Christine ran down the stairs crying, yelling at me that I couldn't do this to her, that I was humiliating her in front of everyone. Her sisters and her parents surrounded me, telling me I was a monster, that how could I be so cruel? My parents were in shock, but they supported me. My mom put her hand on my shoulder and told me I'd done the right thing. I left from there, drove back to my house, and Madison was in the living room waiting for me. When she saw me come in without Christine, and still in my suit, she got up and asked me what had happened. I explained everything, and she burst into tears. But they were tears of relief more than anything. I hugged her and told her I was sorry, that I should never have let the situation go that far, that she was always going to be my priority. We sat there on the couch the rest of the afternoon, ordering pizza and watching her favorite shows, and honestly, it was better than any wedding. The following days were complicated. Christine called me constantly, sent messages, showed up at the house crying, asking me to talk. I held my position. I gave her until the end of the month to get her stuff out of my house and find another place to live. She kept insisting we could fix things, that it had been a horrible misunderstanding, that she loved me and we could go to therapy. About 2 weeks after the wedding disaster, Christine came over when I was home, Madison was at my parents' house, and finally gave me her complete version of events. She told me that the reason she had excluded Madison wasn't because she wanted a child-free wedding, but because she suspected Madison had faked being sick during her engagement party months earlier. Turns out that at that party, Madison felt sick to her stomach, and my parents took her home early, and Christine interpreted that as Madison faking it to ruin her special moment. She told me that's why she had decided Madison didn't deserve to be at the wedding, that it was a way to teach her a lesson. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I told her that was completely absurd, that Madison had really felt sick that night, that I myself had seen her throw up. I talked to Madison afterwards to confirm, and she explained that that day she'd eaten something at school that didn't agree with her, that she arrived at the party already feeling weird but tried to tough it out because she didn't want to ruin anything, that eventually she felt so bad that my parents decided to take her home. She hadn't faked anything. Christine had simply built this narrative in her head to justify her horrible behavior. That conversation was the final nail in the coffin of any possibility of reconciliation. I told Christine she needed to leave my house immediately, that I didn't want to see her again. She left crying but eventually got her stuff out. I stayed a few days at my friend Tom's house while I made sure Christine moved out completely, and then I went back home with Madison. It's been 3 weeks since all this, and honestly, I feel relieved more than anything. Madison is so much better. She's back to being the happy girl she used to be. She spends more time with me, we talk more. I asked her if she wanted to do something special, like a trip or something, and she said she just wanted to spend time together without drama. So we planned a beach trip for next long weekend, just the two of us, and I'm more excited about that than any wedding. Christine's family keeps sending messages telling me I'm horrible, that I ruined their daughter's life, but I have them all blocked. Some mutual friends have. I asked me what really happened, and when I tell them the whole story, they're all on my side. There are a couple of people who think I overreacted, that I should have talked to Christine before the wedding day, but the truth is I don't regret anything. She lied to me for months, mistreated my daughter, and built a whole farce to justify her behavior. There's no coming back from that. Madison asked me a few days ago if I'm ever going to try to have a serious relationship again, and I told her that, honestly, I don't know, that for now I just want to focus on her and on us. She smiled and said that seemed perfect to her, that we'd been fine just the two of us for years and we could keep going like that, and she's right, I guess. Sometimes the family you build is better than the family you try to force.